Okay, technique 21 is very simple and very short, and that is practice. If you've taken time to construct your stories, if you've been using some of these techniques to sort of polish your stories and make them shine, you owe it to yourself to practice. And I'm not talking about sort of saying them in front of a mirror, although you can certainly do that. I'm talking about telling them to actual people, because everything we've talked about in the techniques section is about making your stories work better when you tell them to other humans, right? And although the techniques all work, what we need to test our stories. We need to practice telling them, and we need to look at what happens in our audience's faces. You know, do we lose them at certain parts? Do they misunderstand certain parts? Do they not get the result that you want? And of course, the fastest way to learn is to get fast feedback. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing Story Hacker, as I've said elsewhere. You know, it's about I'm learning how to speak on camera, and it may not be perfect. It isn't perfect, but I'm developing my voice and developing my style. And part of it is about seeing what resonates with other people and seeing what kind of works in terms of engaging sort of formats and what have you. And you need to do the same with your stories. You know, what I found over sort of 20 plus years of running a business and an agency is that we fall into patterns of speech, and that can be very useful and powerful. And you learn how, with hundreds and hundreds of retelling of a certain story, you learn the sort of the rhythms of it and the bits that work and the bits to throw away. I mean, if you know, I don't know how many times I've told my shipwreck story, for example, but it is, you know, probably in the hundreds now. And you know, I've learned to cut away some of the stuff that wasn't working or didn't really resonate or didn't sort of matter. And you need that for your stories. So as scary as it can sometimes be, practice knowing that, particularly if you're talking your stories. You know, if it's not working, you can always segue off into something else. But it's a massive piece of advice that we never want to follow. Because we want things to just work, and practicing things or testing things, well, you know what, you might learn something you didn't want to learn, but this is life, isn't it? So practice, test your stories, and they'll get better and better.